Jimmy Fallon, on his late-night talk show in February of 2015, did a small opening on vaccinations in children. He jokingly said of the Los Angeles community that parents were more scared of gluten than they were of their child contracting smallpox. The reality in 2015 was that 20% of children in the Los Angeles schools weren't vaccinated and were susceptible to diseases like smallpox. He continues to skip by saying that he knows you won't take advice from a talk show host, but hopefully you take advice from every doctor in the world. He continues with, the thing about doctors is they didn't learn things about the human body from their friends on Facebook. Although it seems like Jimmy Fallon is making a joke about those who choose not to have their children vaccinated, it is not a joke and it should be taken very seriously. I, like Jimmy Fallon, want to talk about the importance of having vaccinations. One of the main reasons to vaccinate your children is that it could save your child's life. It's also important to understand that immunizations not only protect your child, but also others you care about. And lastly, vaccinations are safe and effective, and as a future pediatric nurse, I want every child I take care of to be vaccinated so that they live full and happy lives. Let's talk about the number of children who are not vaccinated. According to an article by Josh Leves of CNN, the Unvaccinated by the Numbers reports that 48 states allow for religious exemptions and 20 states allow for philosophical exemptions when it comes to vaccinations. The top reasons given for not vaccinating children is parents believe that their children receive too many shots, that they don't believe medical professionals have their child's best interests in mind, and that vaccines aren't in their child's best interest for their health. Lastly, and although rare, sometimes children are vaccinated because of medical reasons, which can leave them vulnerable if exposed to a child who was left unvaccinated for any of the reasons given above. Now let's talk about reasons to vaccinate your child. I want to share a short story with you on why you should vaccinate your children. I currently work with children on the autism spectrum, and I've worked with families who did not vaccinate other children after finding out the oldest child/children had autism and believed the link between autism and vaccinations was true. I was thankful that my mother had me vaccinated as a child because it would have been hard to go to my job every day knowing that my client had been exposed to their sibling who could have carried infectious diseases on them. And I could have been exposed and been vulnerable to those diseases as well. As you will see, this could have cost me my life. There are 5 major reasons to vaccinate, and I talked about a few earlier, and those will be the focus of this speech. One of the reasons is it can save your child's life. One example of this is the eradication of polio. Prior to its life-saving vaccine, polio left children crippled and oftentimes dead, and was a widely feared disease. Now there are no reports of polio according to vaccines.gov. Action.org reports that the yearly average of lives saved because of vaccines is 2.5 million. That's 2.5 million lives that are protected not only from awful illnesses, but Action.org reports that being vaccinated can help prevent things like poverty. The second reason to vaccinate is that it doesn't just protect your child, it also protects your loved ones. Although there are occasions in which people can't get vaccinated, it is important that if you are healthy and fully capable, that you should. According to vaccine.org, it has been estimated that there are 10,000 to 50,000 cases of whooping cough, causing 10 to 20 babies who were exposed to die. The fact that babies are too young to have vaccinations sometimes can be a reason for why we see death in them. Vaccination.org advises that by being vaccinated, we decrease the risk of babies, friends, and loved ones from being exposed to diseases like the whooping cough. A third reason to vaccinate is that vaccines are safe and effective. Vaccines go through a process to make sure that they are authorized to use on people. VaccinationsToday.eu says that there is an extensive scientific process in which vaccinations go through. This process includes clinical studies in which volunteers are used to test vaccination and authorize them for use. After the verification process, vaccines still undergo investigation by public health representatives to continually collect data and make sure that vaccines remain safe. Another reason that vaccines are safe and effective is that there are low rates of rejection, and the most people have to deal with after receiving a vaccine is some soreness, redness, and possible swelling. So what are the consequences of not vaccinating? Let's dive into a few consequences of not getting your child vaccinated. The only real consequence of not getting your children vaccinated is that we will see a rise in vaccine-preventable diseases, such as polio, measles, meningitis, pertussis, rubella, just to name a few. According to pkids.org, we have seen a decline as early as the 1950s in diseases like the ones above. If we continue to allow children not to be vaccinated, we will see a rise once again in these diseases, and death rates will begin to soar to levels prior to vaccination development. We will also see a rise in things like mental retardation as well as physical deformities. As a future nurse, I urge you to get your children vaccinated. This will allow them to live a long and healthy life without fear that they will contract some disease that could have easily been prevented when they were young. If you know someone who is considering not getting their children vaccinated, remind them that their choice doesn't just affect their child, it affects everyone. If you or anyone you know is thinking of not having a child vaccinated, think twice, because when the options are life or death, I'd hope you choose life for your child. Thank you.